Hello. In this video we're going to use diagrams to represent some percentages. For the do now, there's 3 questions on the screen. Can you write those down please, and can you write the percentages as fractions in their simplest form? Pause the screen while you have a go, press play when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, there's the answers. So for example on B and C, okay, if you got 40 over 100 or 90 over 100, but then you had to simplify those to 2/5 and 9/10. The outcomes for today: show percentages on 100 square, show percentages on different size squares, and then consider supplementary percentages. Okay, the starter. What I would like to do is look at the diagram, count how many squares that you see, and can you tell me what percentage of the square is shaded grey, shaded with diagonal lines, and not shaded? So the grey bit will be this bit here, the diagonal lines will be this bottom right part, and then not shaded will be blank. Pause the video while you have a go at the questions and press play when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, there we go. So part A 33%, part B 9%, and then part D, because we already knew 33 and 9, we could take that away from 100. Or we could have counted the squares that didn't have any shading on them. Okay, example 1. Draw diagrams to show A 71%, B 20%, and C 5%. So we'll look at part A first. These might take up a little bit of space. So 71% equals, as a fraction, 71 out of 100. Remember that percent means per 100, so our percentages are always out of 100. And what that means is that 71 out of 100 squares needs to be shaded. So something like this. Our square is going to be 10 squares across and 10 squares up and down, and then that will give us 100. 10 multiplied by 10 is 100. And then we want 71 of those. And what we could do is shade in 7 columns, because we know each one of those is going to be 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and we need another 1, and that'll be 71 out of 100, which is 71%. There will be other ways that you can shade these squares, so I could have chosen to do 7 rows and an extra 1. That would have been fine as well. This is just showing you one example of how it could look like. So part B, 20%. So again, we're going to use our fraction first. So instead of 20%, we can say 20 out of 100. And that does simplify down to 1/5. So 1/5 of a shape needs to be shaded. So again, we can use a 10 by 10 grid. And this time there will be 20 shaded. So we know each row is 10, so 10 and 20. You could have also drawn a different shape altogether for this. So you could have drawn something like that, 5 squares long, and then quite easily we could have shown a 1/5 by just shading in 1 square. So that would have been fine as well. And our last one, 5%. Again, our percentage is out of 100, so 5 over 100. This simplifies down to 1 over 20, so 1/20th of a shape needs to be shaded. And again, it's going to be easier if we just use 100 squares. So again, starting with our 10 by 10 grid, and this time 5 is going to be shaded. Using the dark lines, you can see how the shape could be split into 20 pieces, and then one whole dark rectangle has been shaded. Another method that you could have done would have been to make a diagram with 20 squares, like that, and then just shaded one of those. So if you're feeling a little bit more of a challenge, you can make your diagrams that aren't out of 100. If you're just starting to get the grips of this, then you can use 100 square, that's fine. Okay, here's some questions for you to have a go at then. For each diagram, can you state the percentage that is shaded? Pause the video while you have a go and press play when you're ready to move on. Here's 4 more diagrams. Try and count the squares. Again, pause the video and press play when you're ready to move on. Next question. Can you make 4 copies of this diagram and shade in the percentage being told in each question? Pause the video and press play when you're ready to move on to the next question. Okay, last question then. Now this one's going to be a little bit more tricky for some people because we've now got different size squares or different size rectangles. Can you copy each of the shapes below and shade the percentage? So on this diagram, can you show 27%? On this diagram, can you show 75%? This diagram is 15%, and this one is 48%. And for each shape, state what percentage is not shaded. Pause the video while you have a go and press play when you're ready to see the answers. Here's the answers for question 1. Here's the answers for the first star question. Again, you could have chosen a different way to shade these, but it was really important that you had 23. On this one, 50. Oh, we haven't got the percentages there. Here was 71. And this one was 83. So it didn't matter how you'd shaded it, just that you had the same number of shaded squares. And the double star question. Again, just count the number of squares, and that should be how many you shaded on your diagram. It doesn't matter if you got a different sort of shape that was shaded. It just needs to be the right number of shaded squares. Once you've marked all those, that's it for this video.